This is a big show, so Baz, you contacted me last night. You guys both been on the show before, um, and we've discussed all things trafficking and safety and current state of affairs and all that good stuff, or not good stuff. You contacted me last night and said you guys had big intel to share and not to share with anyone, and naturally that makes me tense. But like I did shows with doctors early on in the pandemic when they said that they feared for their lives, and so this podcast has been nothing but a history of just truly letting God take the wheel and hoping that it all works out and that I have to do the right thing. And so, as much as my anxiety is kind of spiking right now, it's God's taking care of me thus far, and I believe He will again. So, I'm just gonna hand it over to you guys because you know how to explain it, what the importance is that you're explaining, etc. So, Dr. Chambers, you wanna jump it?
Absolutely. Always good to see you, sir. And yeah, this is one of those things that there's always second and third order effects of telling the truth, and especially in the world when you start getting into suppositions and things that you may or may not know to be true. But in this case, this one reached the level of importance and time sensitivity. Realize this is a time sensitive thing. Also, I'd like to state upfront that appropriate authorities have been notified. This information is in their hand to include a lot more than what we can talk about here, because sources and methods are something that we protect. Now, also understand that both Basel Baz and myself are not connected to anything the government at this point, but we do still have friends inside, and we do still negotiate. We still speak with. We still share information pretty much weekly for us here in Texas with local law enforcement all the way up to state level. This one jumped way above. This one jumped way above that one, and I'm just going to give you the situation report up front, and then we can go into the discussion point, and I'll have my colleague jump in there as well. So on the evening of the 22nd of September, that would be Sunday, we got two separate reporting streams that came through, and then one of these came from Baz's side, and I'll let him explain that one. But which those reporting streams were not connected to each other. This is important to understand when we're looking at information that comes to us. We want to make sure that what's the validity, the veracity of the information that we're getting. These were not connected. Both of these reporting streams had access of placement to information, which then corroborated once we all started talking and saying, what's going on here? And this one particular one from our side was a confidential informant that we have that works on the border. We do get information from here down in Texas all the way over to San Ysidro, California. So this one came out of the New Mexico area of operations. It's not our particular locale, but the informant was working that location and has the ability to access and place himself into nefarious networks on the border. So when he intercepted this information, this is, bottom line up front, that 9 surface to air missiles of possible Iranian origin, we don't know, I don't have hands on, but surface to air missiles have crossed into the United States at a New Mexico point of entry. Now, that's going to lead us to a lot of supposition here, but we have to understand that this information was too specific not to take notice and to disseminate it. We operate on the find, fix, and finish, analyze, exploit, or expose, and then analyze these things and disseminate. That's what we do. F3EAD. It appears that, based upon this reporting, that the identified target is the former president Trump's plane, his airplane. And this is why it reached to the highest levels of anything that we've touched down here. Typically, we're looking at, chasing down narco terrorists or, trying to pull kids out of bad places. This one went way above and beyond. The presence, and this is the other corroboration, that there is a presence of 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 3-man teams within the country who were to receive said cargo. Is it in their hands? It's unknown at this time to me. Okay. But with regard to this ordinance, and this is important to understand when you're talking about a technique or tactic or practice of the enemy that is inside this country, the 3 teams that we're talking about. The suspected type of surface to air missile has a range of up to 5 kilometers with a maximum flight height of 4,000 feet. And its speed can reach up to 850 miles per hour. That's over Mach 2 point something, almost Mach 3, with a 1.4 kilogram HE, high explosive warhead. So These are looking at planes that are flying low and slow or on a takeoff or a landing. All right, so that's where we would see this type of attack being taken place. I've worked with surface to air missile before, so has Boz, and we understand that this is not for something to fly up in the stratosphere. This is for something on low and slow, helicopter, or something that is just taking off or on approach. More concerning for about this particular ordinance is that the sophistication of its laser targeting system. It has a 360-degree arc on it, which is heat. It's heat seeking. Okay, but it is infrared and it's heat seeking. The time from what we call March to firing is about 10 seconds. That means a dude takes it out of a car, takes it out of a pack. He's got 10 seconds to set it up and fire this thing off. Could easily reach anything that's on approach or on takeoff. So that kind of tells you what it is. Now, here's our analytic considerations. To get 9 surface to air missiles across the United States border at a point of entry would require some insider help. There's no way that you're coming across with this type of ordinance at a point of entry, and this was in New Mexico. The specifics are still being held. We talked to our law enforcement and friends and said we'll hang on to some of the information because they're investigating. The only organization that we know of this kind in that area of operations is the Sinaloa cartel. There's a lot of things going on there. I'm going to suggest that if you look a little history on that, I'm not going to go into it a lot here, but we've got a lot of stuff going with Guzman, this guy that's being held in the country, extradition, things like that. There are potentials for other things that we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But our analysis indicates that we cannot rule out assistance or direction from upper level management. And that goes all the way to our intelligence community and the Department of Justice. I don't have that. I don't have the specifics on that, but I do know that that is being investigated. Since the right answer for them, for us, we this is a happenstance finding, but these are things that we cannot hide. We cannot keep to ourselves. For them, their duty is to find, fix, and finish, expose, analyze, and disseminate this type of information. This is time sensitive. It cannot be mulled over any longer. Boz and myself and our team all woke up every morning now going, we can't let this happen on our watch. It doesn't matter the risk. We're willing to take the risk. We're willing to take the hard hits because this kind of stuff, this is like the kid with his finger in the dike. This is the type of stuff. This is a wake up criteria, we call it. Boss, you got to know. Understand this. The 45 team, the Trump team knows about this. He tweeted about it. It's already been out on open source intelligence. That being, another medium that came out. It was on, Health Ranger. He put out some information on this. So people are getting the information. It always leaks. And Abaz will corroborate this. It always leaks, not from us, but from other places. People hear about it. Hey, guess what? So we've got to get the pressure on our ICDOJ legislators. Look, I am almost convinced that there are legislators on Capitol Hill that are involved in this. Okay. And that's scary to say, and it's hard to say on this medium, but I don't know their names, but they will be found out because there is money that's been transferred to cartels to push something through a point of entry in New Mexico to allow for 9 surface to air missiles to make it into our country with the intended target of the former president. Either way, action is imperative that we get left of bang on this. We get ahead of this and understand this too. And I'll speak for myself, and I'm sure Boz will corroborate this. And I'm gonna take the thunder here. I can assure you, me nor my team are suicidal. So we're going to go ahead and go there because this type of stuff is what gets people buried 6 foot under. And this information is in the appropriate hands. You can get rid of me. You can take me out. Got it. But it's already at the right place. We're willing to take the risks. So that's the 40,000 foot view, or with the 4,000 foot view at this
4,000,
point.
say 4,000.
Considering the ordinance.
Yeah. Baz?
Yeah, as you hear Pete delivering this to the American people, a lot of people are like, well, where do you guys come from? What do you do? How do you know this information? There's a cadre of operators and former intelligence officers that still believe in protecting the United States of America. And we support the Constitution and we honor our founding fathers.
Come a little, like I told you beforehand, Baz, come a little closer, speak louder. Yeah, you're a little quiet.
Is that better?
Much better.
So we see government, as many people in America do, for what it is in America. It's broken and corrupt. And they're weaponizing 3-letter agencies who have lost sight of everything that's American, choosing to compromise and foster basically a globalist or deep state agenda. But within our circle, we have a robust intelligence network of agents that have access. and many times better than all of the three-letter agencies combined. Now, unlike most, if not all of those three-letter agencies, Tommy, they want to tell the American people what to think. We're here to teach you how to think. And most, if not all of those three-letter agencies were put in place to keep the American people safe. But as a weaponized institution driven by the deep state agenda, it is clearly not the case. It's just the opposite of that. So we're speaking today to the American people who have a right to know the truth and a right to live their lives without being set up for failure. And on this day, and Pete knows it as well, on this day, 26 September 2024, all of that changes. As veterans and patriots, we took an oath to defend the Constitution against enemies foreign and domestic. And I do not mind saying that up until this time, and I think Pete will agree with me, most has been speculation as to the fate of the nation as we continue to carry the burden of that kind of socialist democratic party, and even perhaps some people on the other side of the aisle that wish to destroy what we fought so hard to protect. On our watch, that will not happen. Today, we want to let the American people know how close we are to that destruction and remind we the people that this country and its history and the values embedded in the Constitution will not be tossed aside without a fight to the bloody end. So as Pete's delivering this and we talk about this information, this is exactly what we're doing. Both Pete and our associates have seen so much through our career get stuck and hidden from the American people as if they know what the people should know and should not know, as if they are babysitting the American public. And quite honestly, there are people that are in positions of authority that, you know, shouldn't even be there, to be honest with you. So this information, which Pete's telling you, it's critical. I mean, think about it. Look, even if it's not, and we know it was directed at Trump's it's Trump for the former president. We know that. But let's say they're still floating around as Americans getting on your plane every single day to fly across the country. What if your plane is the one that gets hit by one of these missiles? What if your family goes down in a ball of fire because a bad actor used one of these surface-to-air missiles that should have never come across the border in the first place? Had it been tight enough, had we had security in place, it probably never would have happened, because these are the things we have prevented in the past. These are the things under President Trump's watch that we stopped from happening, and now it's happening. So I'm going to go out on a limb here, and Pete can come get me out of jail on it. The fact that this administration has allowed this to happen, the fact now this national security issue will affect any and all Americans in our country, that is treason. That is dereliction of duty, and this president that is in there and his entire staff should be removed immediately. I have the last time I saw stuff like this, it was intentional and it was by design. Everybody can go, well, it's just stupidity. It is not stupidity. It is by design. And take a look at all the bad actors that have come across and with the illegal aliens that have terrorist ties. Talk about all the terrorists that are in the country now that we haven't even picked up yet. Do you think there's a possibility that those cells are ready to receive those weapons and do damage here? Yeah, I think that's the case. We know that from our experience.
Well, God bless you, Boz. You know that the considerations here are enormous as to the, when we talk about things, we talk about the most likely course of action all the way to the most dangerous. This thing is pegging far to the right on that one. Most dangerous course of action is blaring off the charts. This is one of those few times that I don't just go, well, it could possibly be this to this. No, at this point right now, I'm over here to the right. And it's not something that I want to think about. But, when you hear, we got a saying down here in Texas, when you hear a hoofbeat, you don't think about a zebra, you think about a horse, right? And that's what this is. This is straight up a gallop that we are listening to. We've seen it over and over again. Our institutions are bankrupt. And I talk about this every time I get up on a mic as to what is bankrupt. But what is not bankrupt is everything that is dear to the American character, is the heart of the real Americans that stand up and say, no, this is wrong. And unfortunately, that's a small minority, but it always is. It always has been. It's a remnant that we talk about in the biblical sense. There's a remnant that will stand up and say the right thing and do the right thing, regardless of the cost. So this most dangerous course of action, potential false flag deception operation. Look, they're marching their way to war in Europe right now as we speak. There are Democrat war hawks and Republican war hawks that are up there just pushing guys like us or my kid, the next generation of soldiers, to go and stand on the front line to fight for what? To fight for what? That's all I got to say on that. So the potential here to wrongly point a finger at something. Let's just say it's an Iranian missile that they find out for sure. It's a Mossad 3. All right, so we say it's that. They pointed at Iran, they attacked that country, and it's a false flag. Now we've just killed hundreds, tens of thousands of people for what? For the false flag deception operation to take down a candidate so that we can continue with this broken government that we have. No, that is why we have to make sure that the election is fair. But before that, the time sensitive thing that we've got is this right here, because exactly as Boz said, somebody else, another target of opportunity. Let's say, well, we can't get to Trump's plane. They just grounded it and he's not going to take off. Well, let's go ahead and create a deception operation inside the country. And then what? Right? So this is all still in the same category of most dangerous courses of action. And that is why whoever allowed that, and I know someone did, whoever allowed that to come across that point of entry is guilty of treason and should be prosecuted appropriately. But right now, the time sensitivity is this information has to get out. It's got to get enough wheels underneath it to make a lot of people real nervous and put them back on their heels. They'll make more mistakes and they'll come to light.
Tommy, one of the things you're probably going to see here, because we have no adult room when it comes to the White House.
Come closer, Baz.
One of the things you're going to see here, because we don't have any adults in the room at the White House, and is that first they're going to try to say, well, this intel isn't solid. Let me tell you what, it is solid. This is solid sourcing, and there has been more solid sourcing in the past from these assets that we have, in our database and everything else. And then the second thing they're going to probably make it a conspiracy theory, and it's not for the fact that we don't want to scare the American public. It's for the fact that they don't want to get caught. They don't want an investigation. You see, in America, and you've heard me talk about this before, if we discover something, we feel like we did something about it because we discovered it. That's not true. Look at all the things that take place and there's no accountability. So if we take a look at this issue, who are the bad guys here? Well, of course, there's the bad actors. There's the people that brought it across. But much like Pete's talking about, who assisted them to bring it across? Look, nobody knows the border better than Pete. I mean, there are people in Texas, but he works the border. He knows how difficult it is to bring certain commodities, certain tools, certain whatever across. And he knows how this type of, we'll call it a tool, we'll call it a commodity, he knows how that has to be brought across through the border. And like he said, this isn't like 6 guys carrying a bunch of missiles on their back, like deciding to come across the Rio Bravo. These were transported in a very clandestine manner, we're pretty sure, as we all would, and they're being put in the hands of somebody. That takes great coordination. Mm-hmm. That takes corruption. That takes other people on the payroll. And I will tell you, based on files that we have and some people that we have really good relationships, and some 3-letter agencies, know for a fact that we literally have photos of certain members in Congress, certain people in the White House area that are literally standing next to members of the cartel. And you ask yourself, why are they taking a picture with a known member of the cartel? What are they on their payroll? Do they have an alliance there? What's going on with all of that? So, deep state, dirty laundry, it's all there. But not to get too far off of this, but what Pete's talking about, the American people need to be concerned about this. Now, what if we say, well, we're gonna let the FBI do it. We're gonna let the CIA get involved. We're gonna let all these are the people that should have been involved before, and they are known for covering a lot of things up so that their agenda can move forward. So this is really interesting, but now the people know. So what are the American people going to do about this? What are we, the people, going to do about this? Or are we just going to wait, and all of a sudden when something gets shot down, and then we get mad about it? And then it wasn't that shot it down. It was an engine failure, or it was something else. So We need to pay real close attention to
Right.
these.
And I'd like to add to that. You mentioned, Boz, the meetings that take place between cartel officials. That was the very kickoff for this whole thing. That was the first red flag that went up in the mind of the asset on the ground, the confidential informant that said, "Hey, there's something wrong here." And then he did a little bit of homework and then got to the point of entry and found out exactly how it came through because he's doing his homework. Now he's down there looking for something totally different and ends up finding this. These are called exigent circumstances or plain view in the law enforcement world. So, right, yeah, this is cannot be held. We just can't just sweep this one under the rug and say, well, somebody sold some stuff, and a congressman got rich selling some narcotics on the border, and some money got funneled back to him. No, no, sir. This is raises too high of a level for us not to risk, our own operations. But that's what we do. That's why we, signed up for this operation. In the in the as I joke about, and people have now Googled me to figure out who is this army of God they speak of. Well, there's an army of God, and it's always going to be on the side of truth, and the truth will set you free.
Best.
Go ahead, Tommy.
I was handing it over to you. Yeah, I'm listening to you guys. I don't have anything to add. I'm watching you guys.
Well, there's more to come.
Yeah.
Like I said, our sourcing is really pretty solid. There are a lot of three-letter agencies that wish they could access who we access and what we access.
Mhm.
And they are still the same people that should be doing their job. And I don't want to say we're doing their job for them. We're not. We're not. We don't even care what they do anymore. We're going to do what we do as veterans, as patriots, and we're going to continue to protect this country. And we're going to still run our intel unit, and our people are going to have access, and we're going to bring this information in. And we're going to freely give it to the American people. They want to get on board and get on board. I will tell you, with what we have and who we know, nobody's coming into our office to say you can't tell the American people this or that. It's not going to happen that way anymore. We're not
Mhm.
going to get shut down. It's going to get out there. And if it forces people to do their job, if it forces transparency, then so be it. We are so sick and tired of the weaponization of those three-letter agencies that
Mhm.
are attacking Americans daily, that are working on a deep state agenda. We have conversations with people in those organizations that are starting to leave or are becoming whistleblowers because they can no longer take it as well. And it is as clear as day now that there is a division in this country, and it is a division between those who want to destroy this country, who are willing to compromise simply for a paycheck, and don't believe in the Constitution any longer. People need to wake up and understand that. Again, it goes back to that. What are we willing to do about it as Americans? Now, most Americans will sit there until their freedom is taken away. Most Americans will just wait until something happens and go, oh, well, we had 9/11, we had this, and now we're going to have something else happen like this. It just goes with the territory. It
Mhm.
doesn't have to go that way. Most people in America believe that if you speak the words, that, hey, we're going to do something about it, that it automatically gets done. We can no longer just speak the words. You have to take action. You've got to do something. You've got to hold people accountable. And if the three-letter agencies and the DOJ and the White House aren't going to do it, by God, Americans are going to do it. And nobody better get in our way, because we spent our careers as veterans not wanting to come home in a body bag. Everybody knows we are willing to die on our own soil. We have no problem with that at all, to protect the Constitution and to make sure Americans are safe. And this is what we're doing this for right now.
Well said, sir. Thank you. Well, Tommy, I think that's the roll up there. I hope that this went out live. Did it not?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, good.
It's yeah. I mean, and that's kind of the fear is that if they can't get Trump, they'll still go for something. They didn't do all this to
Well,
say, ah,
right.
he got away.
Yeah,
They're
and we heard that there were other attempts that were possibly in the mix that were coming. And look, we just ran smack dab into the middle of it. And so, we made sure his team knows about it. We visited with the Secret Service. They're sent a stellar team down. We talked to them. That's about the most that I can say because I'm
Sure.
protecting their ability to operate. But there will be more to come.
Yes, sir.
That there's no doubt. There's no doubt. And we will continue to, do what we do anyway, which is, our primary missions. But we will always stand up for the Constitution and the freedom of this nation to vote for their leader, because this is not a democracy. Democratic method of voting is one thing. This is a constitutional republic. And there were very few that stood up in the very beginning, and there are very few that stand up now. But we're going to have the old guard, I guess, come forward and say, this is how we're going to do it. And this is, every word that Boz says, I'm in 100% agreement with.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's yeah, you guys have my platform. My platform's yours to use. Yeah, no, I'm not suicidal either, and it's I don't think these things would be laid at our feet if God didn't think we could do the fight. So, uh, terrifying times, scary times, but there's nowhere to go but through it. So that's what we'll do and with God's grace and love, we will win. Um, but if we want, we can wrap that up. We kept it short and sweet. Very I don't really have anything to add to this because this is so beyond my scope of ability. But
It's okay. It's okay.
uh,
We just appreciate the time
yes,
and
sir.
the ability to get this out. And I'm sure that more will come and ask questions, but it's just this is time sensitive, so that's why we
Yes,
can't.
sir.
And
Yes,
I
sir.
got you. I appreciate your
Thanks,
time.
Tommy, for
Yes,
that.
sir.
Thanks for getting it out.
Yes,
And
sir.
good to see you again, Pete. And
You, sir.
God bless you guys.
Take care out there, brother.
you,
Yeah, we will.
you guys have my number. If you need to do another episode, we'll do another episode, and for as long as we need to do them. All right.
Thank
All
you,
right.
buddy. We
Thank you so
appreciate it.
much, Basil Best,
All
Dr.
right.
Pete Chambers. Thank you so much, gentlemen, guys. God bless. Stay safe, everybody. Take
Recording
care.
stopped.
Peace. So that's probably the episode that kills me. That's probably it. Well, I feel sick to my stomach. Well, we're gonna do an ad read because the show goes on and the show runs on money, not shoulder-fired missile launchers. If you have a dog, we've all been there. Our pup goes from full of energy to sick and miserable in an instant and at the worst of times. Then we're calling vets in the middle of the night or on weekends, trying to find a clinic that will take us in. It's a terrible way to manage your dog's health, not to mention your stress levels. Yeah, like mine right now, talking about the shoulder-fired rocket launcher going at the president. And your monthly budget. That's why people are getting the Pet Emergency Kit by Positive. It contains critical medication supplies that can not only keep you out of the veterinary office, but may even save your dog's life or my life. Their kits contain critical medications like activated charcoal, styptic powder, and more. I wouldn't mind a Xanax right now. It might save your dog's life or Tommy's. Head over to Positive, PAWSITIVE.com and use code STUDIO, STUDIO, to get 15% off your pet emergency kit. Thank you guys. I love you.